But we are here and we are back for another tribe podcast. So give me 1 second here, guys. I'm sorry. Get out of here. Got a crazy puppy barking at the Amazon person, as always. Gotta love her, right? She's a puppy. You love her. All right, y'all.
Right.
So we are back for another tribe session here, and I hope you have your notebook, your pen, your favorite drink, and a good, comfortable seat, and your listening ears because I'm excited about this one. Y'all know I love distance a lot, a lot, a lot. I'm the type to sit and watch a cross country meet right on YouTube for hours and on end. And my wife's like, "Why are you watching this?" I just love watching people run distance. It's pretty cool. So, with that being said, I thank you for joining us, and I am here with the awesome, the stud, the guy, the guru, the juice master, Coach Siemers. And I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him introduce himself. But I do want you to know you do not want to miss this. So make sure you are holding in tight. And if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We do ask for a little a housekeeping item. Just close out all your other things going on. Shut the door. Enjoy this particular message. And again, by all means, ask as many questions as you can. Throw them in the chat, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. In the meantime, as we kind of get going here, I want to remind you, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit that bell so you get those notifications. And you can always find us again on the school app for the track tribe. It is for track people who love track and field, the coaches, the athletes, the parents, whatever. And we would love to have you. It's always 100% free, paid for by me because I love you that much. So without further ado, I do want to step aside. I'm going to allow, please, Coach Siemers, would you please, please, please tell us all about yourself? How are you doing today, Coach?
Good, good. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me. Um, I really appreciate it. So just a little bit about myself. I do coach cross country and I coach track. Um, in track, I'm middle distance to the distance stuff. I go down to the 400 and kind of leave the sprints to other people. But cross country is my first love. I just love coaching cross country. I'm at a school called Maid Creek, which is in Katy, Texas, which is west of Houston. I've been there. This is going to be my fifth year there. This is my 20th year in education. And yeah, just have lots of great experiences that I've picked up. Had some great athletes run for me, fantastic coaches that I get to partner up with in my school district. Um, so I guess I'd kind of start with how I got into this. I'm a late bloomer. Unlike a lot of you who talk about your high school races, I had no high school races. I was a hockey player growing up,
Really?
and I played hockey till I was 32 or 34, or something like that. And both my shoulders were damaged, and I had to stop playing. I couldn't play. I couldn't use my arms after a race. I mean, after a game. And I was looking for. I'd always run, but it was always running as part of hockey. Soccer was another big sport of mine. So, but I never really trained for anything, and definitely was not part of the track or cross country community growing up. And so I needed something to do that was challenging, and doing stuff like beer league softball or the other stuff that you're supposed to do in your mid 30s just didn't work for me. And literally my decision to get into running, I was in Barnes and Noble one day in the sports section, and there was a book about how to train for a marathon in 8 months or something like that.
Mm.
And I was like, that sounds hard and that sounds engaging. And so I bought it and I started coaching myself on how to run a marathon. And the more I got into it, I was fascinated by it. Was different than any other coaching book in other sports. It was real. I just loved the way it got into like the physiological reasons behind everything and how you could train to actually change your body. And I went in hook, line, and sinker, and really learned on myself as a guinea pig, and started having some good results. And around that time, I also didn't start coaching until I was 40 years old. I
Mm.
was in the software business for a long while, and for multiple reasons, the business world just didn't it just didn't work for me. Um, the goals of just making money and shareholder value and all that just didn't excite me. I wanted to work with kids, So I started working with kids, and when I was at my school, they knew that I was running marathons. I was training for marathons, and so they naturally were like, "Hey, do you want to do cross country?" And I was like, "Yeah, what is that?" and kind of jumped. That's really how I got started. Was because of the fact that people knew I was a runner, and the coaches at my school were not really runners. They were just kind of taking the job because someone had to fill the
Yeah,
position. And so uh, I started going that way and just went through. I learned the hard way because like I said again, I didn't have a coach to emulate. I didn't have background, in the sports. I was more or less like a student studying other teams, other coaches. Um, this is back in the day before uh, back in the day when Let's Run was the biggest way to find anything in track and
yeah,
field. And you download these threads that were really fascinating, and you just print the page out and print the page out and print. And I've got crates full of old Let's Run notes and PDF files that were dropped out there. And that's how I learned. And right now, I feel like I have a better than average grasp on the sport. And I've enjoyed a lot of success since I kind of figured it out on how to coach, and I just love it. I love coaching distance. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life.
I love the modesty, coach. That better than average. Um, yeah, I've been watching. I've seen your work, your body of work, and I'll say this: if you don't know Coach Siemers and you haven't followed what he's done an amazing job with some athletes who, if they hadn't had a coach like him, then they might not have enjoyed the sport or continued or had any kind of success. And so to me, that speaks volumes when you can take an athlete, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the best of the best or an elite athlete who's, you just have to manage. But if you can take an
Right.
athlete that most people would overlook or
Mm-hmm.
not consider and turn them into this fine-tuned, well-oiled machine, if you will, right? For lack of better analogies, that compete at the highest levels, um, it where they are,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And that's the key there, right? It's not like you're expecting them to be like, oh, I'm going to turn you into a national champion, but you're going to be the best version of yourself. And I've
Exactly.
seen that work, right?
Right.
And so I want to dive into something that's really been a pain point for a lot of coaches, myself included,
Yeah.
is when you walk into a program
Mm-hmm.
and to your point, you go, hey, do you want to coach cross country? You have no idea what you're getting. You don't know what the status is of any of the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you're not even sure what the program is able to be producing and has been able to produce. And so when you walk into something like that where you're kind of blind or you're
Mm-hmm.
not sure what you have or you're not sure what's happened in the past or the history of that program. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that you immediately put together or focus on to, as part of your process in getting them moving in the right direction?
Okay. So I'll talk about my school that I'm at right now. Yeah, and I've been in Houston for 15, 16 years or so. So I've known all the programs beforehand, through reputation or knowing the coaches beforehand. But I will say that my school that I'm in right now, I came in as the girls head coach.
Mhm.
And our girls program was not that great. I think it was 2008 was the last time they made it out of our district. And the way we have it in our district is the top three teams go from district to regionals, top four team in the region. There's four regions in Texas make it to state. And our girls hadn't made out of district. In fact, they were usually the last place team in our district. I can't recall there ever being a really good distance girl in my time when I got here in 2008. There being a good girl from my school. And so when I walked in, and I knew this going in. This was the environment I was looking for. I wanted to be at a school like this for different reasons of mine, but I looked forward to the challenge. And so, anyways, when I first walk in, what I look for is I don't look for athleticism. At first, I want to know who you are. Um, if there's a certain vibe that a cross country kid puts off. Um, they're confident in themselves, but in a quiet way.
Mm,
Yeah, when you talk to them, they're not going to brag about themselves, but they just like when you talk to them, they look you in the eye. When you talk to them about hard work and showing up every day,
right.
they don't blink. They're just like, okay, that makes sense. Um, so I'm looking for the right character first
Mhm.
because I firmly believe that distance. My favorite running quote, my favorite one of my favorite quotes ever is from Arthur Lydiard, who said, "Champions are everywhere."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in our sport, you could be the fastest kid in kindergarten, and we could probably predict that you're going to be a great 100 runner, right? You know, speed shows itself more
Yeah.
naturally. Distance, you could have the greatest VO2 max in your school, and you don't know it until you've trained
Mm.
for a while. And so everything is latent. And so if you're willing to work, and if I say like this is what we have to do, um, I know the path. I just need you to follow it. And they're like, yeah, and they get excited about that. I'm like, okay, this is a kid I can work with. And then that's really what I look for, first of all, is the personality. If you're how long is this going to take, or a quick fix person, you're probably not going to enjoy the cross country life, the
Mhm.
distance runner life. I always tell my seniors win championships. That means you got 3 years to build.
Mm.
So don't expect
Mm.
anything great right away. Um, and I'll tell them, your first year is about building your running body. The second year is when you can start competing and winning medals. Um, and those kids that are fine with that,
Yeah.
they end up sticking.
Coach, you're handing out some nuggets, man. Look, I'm getting all feely on the inside, right? Like, and I'm gonna tell you why is because I'm experiencing the very same thing. And typically, man, the cross country kids are just so awesome. And that may be why I love them so
Yeah,
much. It's because they just work so hard.
yeah,
And I love what you said here is that everything is just latent. And they don't really know who they are or what they can do until you put your touch on it, right? And go, hey,
right,
try this because I think
yeah,
you can. And sometimes we have to believe in them before they can see it in themselves, right?
exactly.
And that's so awesome. So when you tell a kid, seniors win championships, right? And
Hmm.
you might have some kids who come and they're just phenomenal in the first couple of years, and
Yeah.
that's great. But for them to buy into a long-term plan
Hmm.
is such a unique thing, especially when you have a kid that's 14 to 18 years old. You
Right,
rarely see that because now in today's microwave, it's all about right now. I want it now, right?
right.
How do you pull the team together to get them to fully buy into that multi-year plan as
Sure.
you begin to build them up?
So I like what you said that we have to believe before we do. They totally live off of our belief in
Hmm.
the beginning. Um, and so and when I say like long term, like my teams, uh, my teams, whenever I go someplace in the first year, we win immediately.
Hmm.
We don't. There's not like a 1 year plan or a 2 year plan. Like the first year I was at Maid Creek, we finished second in the district, and it was the first time getting out in 15 years or something like that. With a bunch of girls that had finished, you know, not anywhere close to qualifying the year before.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of it is when I talk to them, I diagnose them immediately. I'm a big believer in before we even start slapping on any mileage that we work on your running form. I
Hmm.
always tell the kids that running is a skill, and skilled runners are fast. Skilled runners win. And I'll compare, and living in Houston, I say like, hey, if you saw Justin Verlander throw a pitch, and then you watch me throw a pitch, like you wouldn't even have to clock the ball. You could just watch how we throw. He's much more skilled. He moves more fluidly, and that's not going to be a surprise. He throws 100, and I throw like 45 or whatever it ends up being. Um, and so we work on we work on drills with girls. There's a lot of like the side to side thing like this.
Yeah.
With and so we work on that with the guys. There's a lot of looking down at the ground, so they're bent. They just don't open up their stride. A lot of heel striking, and so
Mhm.
we just start short and we work on the skill, and then we go out and run. And I'll start off and I'll run with them because when I'm running next to you, I can be like, no, follow my arms, look at what I'm doing, and we
Mhm.
work on our form that way. Anyways, what will end up happening is that they start to feel better when they're running. They'll say like, oh my gosh, that used to be so hard for me, and that really wasn't that bad. And I'm like, see, you're getting better as a runner, and so you're going to get faster, and it's going to feel easier, and all. And then we'll start layering on speed, and all the whole time, I'm just building it up. And even if we're running 200s, I'll say, look, if you can hold that pace, this is what you'll run in a race. And they start to like just the little nugget of like, okay, I could see how that would work.
Mhm.
And then you go to 400s, and then you're like, hey, you could do this. Oh, you've got the speed. All we have to do is extend it, right? You don't have to get any faster. We just have to hold it for longer.
Mm.
And usually there gets to be a moment where they catch on. So we always start each season with something I call the impossible goal, which is a goal that it's not truly impossible, but it's just enough that it really gets your attention. It's something that you can achieve that really is your greatest dream come true, but it has to be realistic. So, like for example, my first year there, our impossible goal was we are going to qualify for regionals. That's it. That was, and the team hadn't done that since 2008. And the girls started, I just keep repeating it after every practice. Anytime I see anything good,
Mm.
um, I'm just feeding you these belief nuggets. Um, and then pretty soon, when you hear when you catch the kids talking about it to each other, that's when you're like, okay, it's catching.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then when we race, we don't race to win until our district meet. We always have a plan that we want to do, and so we'll do something like on that first year team. I can remember our first meet. It was like a 4K or a 3200, one of the shorter races.
Mhm.
And I told the girls, what I want you to do is I want you to be in a pack at mile one. That's it. If you guys want to walk, if you want to walk off or walk after that, but I want you to be towards the front so you can learn to see what it's like to be at the front for a mile. And they did it. They did great. And I think they finished third in the meet
Wow.
because, they realized, hey, if we do this as a team and we put ourselves in position, like even if we don't finish our bet, like good things are going to end up happening. And after finishing third, and there's a bunch of individual medalists and all that, and they were just bouncing off the walls, bouncing off the tent, I guess you should say.
Yeah.
Um, and then that belief, it just snowballs
Right.
after that. When you get to the big, the big race, which for us was the district meet, um, they want it. They're not wishing for it. Like they come in and they're hungry, and they know they can do it, and they know how to do it because we've rehearsed it
Right.
multiple times over the year. So that's really what I do. It's all about belief and teaching them how to be runners and how to think like runners and be teammates.
Right.
Because I
Yeah,
see
it
a
sounds
lot
like
of
it's a compound skill where, okay, so if I'm layering this correctly, and please, if I'm
yeah,
off base or if I'm off target, please, realign me here. So it sounds like part of the process is I'm going to walk in here and I want to first find out who this athlete is as a person,
Yes.
right?
I want to know who you are. Yep.
Um, because nobody cares until they realize that you care about them, right?
Yeah.
And so once you figure out who the kid is, you want to learn about them as much as possible. What's their, what are they thinking about? What's going on with them, et cetera, what's happened in the
Hmm.
past. And then sounds like we move into, well, I'm going to look at your technical capabilities first, right? How
Right.
do you run? What's the form like? And
Right.
then work on those drills and the small things to get you in a more efficient way, right?
Right.
Better running economy, as I call it on our team, right?
Yes.
After then it sounds like you begin to give them smaller points or smaller milestones, like, hey, run this distance at this pace. If you
Right.
achieve that, let's see if you can repeat that,
Right.
and then start to stretch out some of those milestones into longer distances,
Exactly.
and then um, apply some of the strategies in segments in the races. And
Exactly.
those are
Learn
kind
how
of
to
awesome.
race. Yeah.
Yeah,
Learn how to race, and we'll worry about finishing later on. Once we can get through 2.5 miles
yeah,
racing well, you'll finish.
yeah. So you know what? And maybe this isn't common knowledge, but most coaches when they step in to a program, they go, "Hey guys, we got to just win, right? We're going to go for the
Yeah.
gusto. We want to think about the big pie all at once and try to eat the cake instead of slicing it up, right? Very
Yeah.
rarely are they methodical in that way, right? So one of the questions I have was, I think that's really an awesome process, and maybe some coaches can learn from that because I'm picking it up. I didn't even think about, hey, maybe pack running for a first mile, right? And
Yeah.
then that's the goal. Like that's a newer strategy. Well, it's a newer, but it's an updated strategy for me to attempt at. Like I've
Yeah.
always
Because
thought
just
about
think
certain
about all the
things.
things that you want your team to do.
Yeah,
Like I mean, the skill of running as a pack, where your faster kid is backing down, isn't
yeah,
running as hard as they could for the benefit of keeping that five runner up, and that
yeah,
five runner has to learn to stay on there, and they have to you have to work to run as a pack,
yeah.
um, and then get to a certain point where it's like, hey, now it's a jailbreak. Like, go do your thing, go
Right.
win the race. Yeah. um, and it's I mean, I firmly believe in pack running because is there anything that's more intimidating in a cross country race than you look up and you see a pack of 5 or 6 runners in the same uniform running together, and they're
Right.
close to the front of the race? I mean,
Yeah, you know what? I
that's
love that.
intimidating to see.
Yeah.
And it's a skill. It's not that they're all the same kind of runner. I mean, they can have their mile times might be 30 seconds apart, but they, for the benefit of the team, because you're only as good, I would tell the team, we're only as good as our number five.
Hmm.
So, number one, you better bring that number five up with you, because
Right.
you're probably going to get out and get yours. But yeah, we got to bring that number four and that number five along with you and get them deep into the race where they've cleared most of the people that can catch up to them.
Yeah, but you know what? I love that because it does it's humility on the front end because the kid who's fast knows he can get in that race and get it
Yeah,
going, and it's not removing him from the shine, but it's putting more spotlight on the team, like you said.
right.
And then the confidence of that number four and number five, maybe even that number six is going to grow because they feel like they're a little bit closer. And
Exactly.
I'm a firm, huge believer in synergy, right? I know that's a cliche word, but if you've got a teammate right there kind of egging you on, the
Hmm.
chances of you dropping out of that race falls dramatically,
Exactly.
right? Okay,
Exactly.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
What if you don't have five runners? What then?
Um, oh boy, that's my lane. My team, last year we had exactly five. This year I have exactly five girls that can finish a 5K.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and so again, like when we're training, um, this year's team, I'm really fortunate. My top two girls are very competitive, but they're good friends. So they're constantly doing this back and forth thing and make each other better. Um, but I always tell my 3 through 5, I'm like, look, you've got to be faster. Like this team only goes as fast as you do. Um, And it's a lot of I really think a lot of times with those kids that are the 4, 5, 6 runners, the biggest issue is up here. It's a lack of confidence.
Hmm.
Um, because when you're fatigued, I mean everybody hurts at a certain point in the race. But the best ones just have this, they're like, I can do this. I can hurt more than you, right?
Hmm.
I can last longer. But there's a lot of kids that just kind of like, we call it breaking, where they just break, and you could see it. It isn't a physical breakdown, it's a mental, because they'll look at the ground. And I would say if you look at the ground, you stopped racing and
Yeah.
you're just thinking about really negative things. And
Hmm.
anybody who's ever done distance running knows that when you decide to quit, there's no coming back. And so you have to be mentally strong where that thought of quitting just does not, it's not allowed to have a space in your mind. And I think you could train that.
Yeah.
So, but my 3, 4, and 5 are significantly slower than my 1 and 2,
Hmm.
but they're not that far behind them because, again, we start off short, and it's just like, don't break, don't give that thought, and you can do this. You are strong. And then when they succeed in a workout, and then I just immediately get in their ear. And again, I'm just like throwing belief seeds everywhere I go. I'm like, man, that was awesome. Like you
Hmm.
were so strong right there. How did that feel? Because you looked really good. You were flowing through that. And they start talking, and I felt tired. And I said, did you get tall? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I did. I did all the things. I checked my dashboard, and and I cleaned it all up. And you were right. It only lasts for a little bit, when you focus on something else, and just push that no out of your mind. And they'll get faster. Like they're not going to get elite fast, but they're going to be 3, 4, and 5 fast. You know what I'm saying?
All right, coach. You, you
So
threw you threw some you threw some uh semerology out there, right? Some semerology term. I heard
never heard
it.
that before.
Yeah. So I love what you said just here, right? One thing I'm going to go back here, and I like to write notes. So if you guys see me looking
Yeah,
down, that's what I'm doing. You said if you look at the ground, you stop racing. So I want to touch that,
exactly.
right? And then that second thing that I heard you say was one of your athletes said, I checked my dashboard. What is
Yes,
that?
we talk about the dashboard all the time. And it came up a number of years ago. My kids would ask me when I race a marathon, because I still run marathons.
Yeah.
Um, they're like, "Do you ever get bored out there when you're racing?" I'm like, oh no. I'm like, and they're like, do you listen to music? I'm like, oh, I have no time for music. Like, I'm so busy when I'm running. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm checking the dashboard the whole time. I'm like, is my foot strike? Am I landing in that sweet spot that I need to land
Mm,
in? Are my shoulders relaxed? And I've got my chin up. Am I tall from the hips? Do I feel like I'm flowing over? And when one of those things goes wrong, I gotta like fix it on the fly. And I was telling the advantages is that I don't think about how uncomfortable I am and how much because I'm so busy with my dashboard.
mhm,
And I always say like I don't have to feel good. I just have to be good.
mm,
And I don't have to feel like I want to be. I just have to be fast. And I'm like, if I put my body in position, I'm gonna be fast. Doesn't matter how I feel. It matters what I am. And so we talk about that when they're running. I say like, if so what I'll do is I'll catch them when they're out running, and they'll be running in the middle of a rep. They'll be looking down, and after they're done, I'm like, "Hey, come over here." I said, "Right there on the track. What were you thinking of?"
right.
And I said, "Tell me honestly, what were you thinking of?" Oh, it was really hard and all that. I said, "It got really loud in your head, didn't it?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You know how I knew?" And now they know, but like they'll be like, "No." I said, I saw you look at the ground. Because when you look at the ground, all that you're doing is all your thoughts are going inside, and there's nothing good inside your head while you're running
Mhm,
distance deep. You didn't look to see what was happening in front of you, how the people you're competing against are going to respond, where your line is, or anything like that. You stopped racing, you stopped
mm,
running, you looked at the ground, and so we use that as a cue when we race. If you're running against somebody and you're pushing, when we talk about trying to break people, is as soon as someone looks at the ground, it's like, gotcha. And
oh,
and a lot of times when they look at the ground, you'll we throw a little surge in, and 2 meters will become 20.
yeah.
in about 5 seconds. When someone they just pulled the parachute and quit. And so we're always rehearsing that mental toughness that way. Just don't look inside. Like you are your own worst enemy when you're racing, and it's hard. There's nothing good that's coming out of your head. So just focus on the race.
Hey, that's so powerful. I love, dude. Semerology. I'm telling you guys, semerology, y'all. That's a new word that I just invented. So it's I check my dashboard, right? Check your dashboard, making sure you've got good body posture, good foot strikes and foot placement, hip engagement, and where's your eye level, right? Are you looking down? Are you looking where you're supposed to be going or where you're supposed
Yeah.
to go, right? Pick a point and get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Are people around you? Are you watching them and what they're doing? Because hey,
Exactly.
this person's pulling a parachute. I love that, right? Pull the parachute. And so, that's kind of like if you look at the ground, this individual stop racing because they're thinking about everything uncomfortable
Exactly.
instead
Exactly.
of focusing on the things that are in your control, which are
100%.
what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And your effort level. And I tell the kids all the time, there's not a coach in this world. It doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful they are. None of them can coach effort, right?
No.
The only thing they can do is inspire you, but that effort is 100% on you, right?
100%. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to change gears here because I know we've got
Okay.
a good number of coaches that may be listening in who really want to know. I know you alluded to it earlier, some of the training pieces that
Mm-hmm.
get your athletes to the point, we get the mental piece of it, but there's a
Sure.
physical piece that comes with that.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let's dive into those trainings, um, you know, on a high level. Obviously, we can't go too deep.
Yeah.
So your training, what is your number one go-to or your instinct when it gets things going or trying to get moving in the right direction? What's
Okay.
your process or your thoughts?
Okay. So my thought is this. This is so I don't have a favorite workout that I use. In fact, my training looks different every year.
Mm,
I completely so my thinking is this is that I think of what I call capacities. So if you're a 5K runner, okay, in
mm,
order to be a good 5K runner, there are certain shared capacities that a good 5K runner has to have, right? And I think we can all agree on that. Just like the capacities for a 1600-meter runner are going to be different than a 5K runner. And thinking about things like since we're in cross country season, a big part of it it's going to be your stamina. What you break that down is going to be what's your aerobic threshold, what's your lactate threshold. Um, I want to know what your top end speed is going to be. Um, I want to know like how strong are you. I want to know what your mental game is like. And so we sat there and talked about it. Like we would all kind of agree. I think all coaches would not be
mm,
surprised. We would all come up with this list that's very similar. What a great 5K runner should have. And then I look at each athlete and I'm like, what are they right now? And that gap between what they are right now and those capacities, that's training. That's our
mm,
training plan right there.
mm,
So, with high school kids, it's not as varied as it is with adults because all 14-year-olds are kind of the same. It's not like they've had a lot of life experiences that are going to like take them on different, not like a 24-year-old would be, right, where they've had you know a decade of experience racing. So in cross country season, my first thing I want to work on, and I'm going to speak about it with my varsity as opposed to my newer runners,
mm,
is I am all about I want to push that lactate threshold up as high as possible. I think that is the most important thing. If we can delay your high level of discomfort till later in the race, um, that's what I want to do because that means there's more easy running or not as punishing, not as hard, difficult running that way. I want to push that out. And then we also work on your speed. So we actually do a lot of mile pace work during cross
mm,
country. Because the faster you are, it's like a rising tide, right? It
Yeah.
raises all paces. And so, and then of course the long run,
I
right?
love that. It races all paces.
Yeah. So instead of raising all boats, we'll raise all the paces, right? Um,
Totally borrowing that.
yeah. So, yeah, and cross country is more about. I think it's easier training cross country than it is track,
Mhm.
in the sense that a larger percent of your athletes need the same thing,
Mhm.
and so you need to have the long run, and that's all about for me with the long run. I want you to talk the whole time. I don't assign you a pace. I want you to spend time on your feet because that's going to raise your aerobic threshold, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then when we do our tempo runs, I do everything based off of percentage of mile time, and we start short at 400s, and we have some percentages that we go through. We go 81%, 83%, 85%, 88%, and then
Mhm.
we cycle it back down, and then we go to 800s, and we do it again: 81, 83, 85, 88. We cycle down again, then we do mile repeats: 81, 83, 85, 88. Then we do 2 mile repeats, and then we do continuous. Um, and that brings us through to the end of the year. Um,
Mhm.
with that, that's a great time to work on pack running because a lot of the kids, they're within. I'm not trying to have you hit like to the second. I'm like, if you can be 5 seconds either side, you're going to
Yeah.
be kind of in the bucket that we want you to be at. And the kids can run. There's usually a good chance that you'll have one or more athletes that each kid can run with when they're doing that. So we get to practice running as a pack. Um, we work on our running form. Like one thing I did this year is I've started putting cones out to do like the wickets that we always do for max velocity. I do
Yeah.
them now in the tempo runs because I want you to hold your form. Because remember what I said: if you're a skilled runner, you're a fast runner. And so I just shorten them up, and I only use the little short cones. I don't put you know, the big, 12-inch
Right.
wickets on them to have the kids run through there. And so we can combine a bunch of different things all at one time.
Mhm.
Um, but that's the bread and butter of it. And then we go, as we get closer into the season, we'll move from 1600 pace to 3200 pace. And then we
Mhm.
go up to 10K pace, and we start sandwiching in closer and closer together. And we don't really focus on 5K until end of September or so.
Mhm.
Because I want you to have the stamina side and the speed side strong. Because running is a continuum, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you're weak at, that's what's going to bite you in a race, right? So if you don't work on speed, you're not going to have a kick, right? If you don't work on endurance, you're going to, you know, bonk out after a mile. Like, so you've got to be strong across the board,
Mhm.
for that event. And then we don't really focus on locking in on 5K pace. Um, that's just what we run. There's nothing special about it. It's just we've connected everything together, and then it's like probably
So it
about
sounds
three
like
weeks.
if I'm kind of I love the synopsis, right?
Yeah,
And bring everything into like a cohesive thought for me anyway.
yeah,
Uh and so what I feel like I'm hearing is there's a couple things, right? I love that the way you identified, hey, here's the training gap, and that's going to be a little bit different for every kid,
exactly.
obviously, right? But the idea is here are your capacities, here are all these buckets, whether it's what's your threshold or what's your top end speed or what's your mental toughness, right? All those things,
Right.
and you go, all right, well, this kid is in this bucket of 5 out of 4 or 3 or 2 or 5, whatever.
Hmm.
And then we go, all right, well, we know we need to increase these things and get these to the next point, right?
Hmm.
Or higher. Great. There's your plan. And
Right.
so in that plan, it ultimately leads you also to what it sounds like, um, two sides of the fence. If you're
Right.
thinking about a 5K, you want to run a good 5K race, there's a balance of stamina and there's a balance of speed, right? Which sounds like you're
Exactly.
a great 5K runner. And so if you're not focused, if you focus on one and not the other, then you lose some capacity, right? Or you don't
Exactly.
reach your potential. So those individuals who are working to get faster in a 5K
Hmm.
need to consider what's your mile time, right? Or how
Right.
how how well you run the mile. Also included in that, if you go back to the beginning of what you said, is your running economy, what's your technical
Right.
form like, right?
Exactly.
But then also you have to have the stamina to be able to withstand the longer distance. And so if you don't work into that 10K area a little bit over, if you will,
Hmm.
then it's hard to raise your lactic threshold, right? Can you
Exactly.
withstand the discomfort over a longer period of time,
Right.
which ultimately leads, and then you kind of use a sandwich approach between running faster miles and running longer
Right.
to turn into a better 5K runner. Is that
Yeah.
is that pretty solid?
Yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, what it is say, let's say you're a girl and you want to run an 18-minute 5K. Okay.
Hmm.
First of all, you have to have that speed, first of all. Like
Hmm.
if you can't run 100 meters at that pace, what are we talking about? But if you can run at that speed, if you think about all that you're trying to do then is extend it. That's it.
Right.
That's that's all that we're doing. We can use all kinds of words to phrase it, but ultimately there's a goal pace for a kid. They come in with what they've done before and then they want to improve. We make sure that you can run at that speed comfortably and skillfully, so
Hmm.
you're not like working so hard to get that's something you can't do. But you should look like you're flowing just over a short distance, and then you just work on other things to help extend it out, and that's it. I mean, that's really what we're doing. I mean, and there's all kinds of things that you have to do to make that happen, but at a high level, that's it.
Right. So it sounds so simple. It is in theory, and of course you've got some things in,
Yeah,
well, you know what, it's easy in implementation if you know what you're doing too. So how about that? Um, so when you say this, and I like to break this down a little bit more because
sure.
I don't want people to get into the noise, right? And
Yeah.
go start asking all these questions that are really not pertinent to the development of that athlete. So when you say 100 meters as an example, and I need you to run this
Hmm.
pace, an 18-minute pace for 100 meters, are we talking interval work here where it's you run this pace for 100 meters and then you're stopping, pause for X amount of seconds, or and then running right back into it? Or how do you work
Yes.
that plan?
So the way I do intervals is I really believe in short. I want quality on every rep.
Hmm.
Um, and like I said, the extension of that quality will come later. So we will start off doing a lot of 100s and 200s to begin with, and then we'll have one-to-one recovery in the sense of the time. So if you're, I mean, in sense of the distance. So if you run a 100, you jog a 100. If you
Mm.
do a 200, you jog a 200. And then what I'll be doing is I'm really active on the track, bouncing around. So if I see you running and say like a lot of times guys, I tell them like I said, you got T-Rex arms,
Mm.
which means that like your arms are going like this and they're
Yeah.
bare like your elbows. I'm like, dude, if I was behind you and you tried to like your elbow wouldn't even get to me to
Right.
reach. And I'll be like, no, man, let's like get your hand down there, like on your hip, like just pull backwards. Okay. Use your arms, or girls will tend to take their hands and they'll fly out like
Hmm.
that. Or they're, doing the whole shoulder rotation.
Yes.
And if they're doing it short, I can stop them and go, no. And I can walk them through and go like, stay still, follow what I'm doing. Just trust me, do this and then on the next rep, I can watch him or her and be like, okay, that's better. Let's get a little bit more. And so we can get frequent shorter reps where they're fresh, because remember my and I mean, this isn't saying that this is the way to do it. I think every coach needs to have really strong opinions on how they view training.
Yeah.
Don't impose it on anybody else, but like it's kind of like the thing that makes it click in your mind. And one of my firm beliefs is short quality with young runners is more important to me because it develops the skill that they need to be strong, to be
Mhm.
relaxed, to be fast, you know, when we get to the point where they're running for championships.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's what I mean on that. Short on pace, and that's what I mean by I want to see you do it well
Right.
before you say like, look, I ran this time, and I'm like, but you look like crap.
Hmm.
You were redlining it on that. That's not gonna help you at all. So
Right. Yeah, I love it. And so for everyone out there, the reason why I wanted to hear that breakdown is because we got a lot of new coaches out there, and cross country isn't one of those sports where there's readily available, knowledgeable coaches, unfortunately. Normally you get a gym teacher, and high schools will just throw a guy in there and go, hey, just tell him to go run, right? And then they take him to the meets and they don't know what they're doing. So
Mm,
cross country gets, unfortunately, some of the most inexperienced coaches out there who have run a couple of races and that's all they know. And
yeah,
so when we have knowledge like yourself, right, to the table, sometimes I would like to break those things down. One of the things we like to do in the track tribe is try to eliminate the noise, because in my
right,
opinion, um, it's all about the principles. Principles don't change
right,
throughout the ages, right? They never change. Principles are unchanging. Techniques change, approaches
sure,
change, concepts and theories change, but the principles stay the same.
right,
So if you've got a kid, and this is a common problem in cross country, and
hmm
you alluded to it a little bit earlier, the hip collapse, if you will, right? When
hmm
athletes are running and sitting,
yes,
what's
yeah,
your go-to for correcting that body posture, especially in like maybe like a sophomore kid, maybe like a sophomore, maybe a junior first time runner, where
yeah,
they do more sitting and maybe even casting out while they're running. How do you
hmm
get there? How do you work to get their hips engaged for a better running economy and better body
okay.
posture?
So, one thing, you got to be in the weight room.
Mhm.
We go to the weight room twice a week, and we're not lifting massive heavy weights, but it's amazing how many of those kids that have that, like it looks like there's, I call it like sitting in a bucket.
Yeah.
They're sitting down. How many of them, if they do just a body weight squat, their like their legs will be shaking, or they just can't hold the squat position. You know, like their knees will flare out, or their hips will tip over. And
Mhm.
a lot of times it's a strength based thing, and we just have to get them stronger. But then when they do have the strength, a lot of it too has happened is overcoming habit, right? So that's, you know, the bad habits. And so what I do is I take my phone, I video the kids, and I have this app. I don't think it's made anymore. I bought it like 10 years ago. It's called Coach's Eye,
Mhm.
and it's got a big scroll on it, so you can go back and forth real easy with it. And I'll
Mhm.
take the thing, and usually what will end up happening with those kids who are sitting is their subtle heel striking. Like, you know, when you get your new
Yeah.
runners, like they're putting their foot like max extension on their leg almost, you know, with their heel. But these kids, they're still they're not landing beneath their center of gravity. Their foot is still out there, and when they see it, and I'll go and what will happen is when their foot goes out front like that, the leg breaks, and they end up in that sitting position.
Mhm.
But they're strong enough and coordinated enough that it's not like the rocking back and forth. They can actually look pretty decent in their upper body if you just look at how the upper body's moving. But their foot position, they can't get tall to have stable hips because the leg is breaking that way. And so, well, so I'll just mention again, like I'll have them lift up their heel, and I push like at the front of the heel, and I'm like, this is
Mhm.
where I want you to land. I said, remember, the paradox is shorten your stride to cover more ground,
Mm.
and and uh, and then they'll work on that. And I always tell them, like, I remember, like I always tell them, like, get tall from the hips, you know,
Right.
like stretch up from your hips. And if you're running like that with the extension, it's really hard to land on your heels.
Mhm.
You're gonna land midfoot, and you're gonna get that pop from your ligaments and tendons. Um, and it ends up just being like a lot of giving the feedback. I'll get the kids coming up and going, take video of me, take video of me. And was that right there?
Mhm.
And one of the things I always tell them, I said, it's kind of like running is a lot like dancing.
Yeah.
That, you know, people say like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that, and if you're learning to dance, you're very mechanical because you're thinking about it. It just it doesn't get better. But then one day you just kind of get out of you're just having fun and you get out of your own way, and you're like, whoa, Look at me. And I feel like running is the same way too, that when you, there's a stride that when you hit it, everything that your coach has been saying all of a sudden makes sense,
Right.
because you're inside of it. And so I try and, and a lot of times I'll run with them and I'll just be like, hey, just go slow, follow my cadence. You know, and now let's pick it up. And I said, you want to feel that bounce off the ground. You want to feel the ground giving you back the energy. That means you're landing correctly, and you will never feel that with you. And then they'll get it. And then once they taste it, and that experience teaches them more than anything else. So you're trying to just guide them to land correctly, and from there you can see rapid improvements because now they know that feeling that they're chasing after.
I love it. It just occurred to me that, and I know this probably sounds so simple, and it is not about it. Running begins and ends with the feet,
Mm-hmm. Well, you know
right?
what I always tell them? I say it begins with the arms.
Begins with the arms. Okay.
Yeah,
So
because try and run with your arms to your side. It's really hard. Yeah, but I, I
without
was
it.
like, I always sound like keep your cadence with your arms, and if
Yeah.
you keep your cadence up, right, and you stay tall and you're relaxed, your feet are going to follow.
Hmm.
But think about it. Everybody who has poor form and lands on their heels, they're not doing this textbook. They're got the rotation, you got the arms flying all over. Like it doesn't look good on the upper
Right.
body, right?
All over the place.
But if you can get that upper body, then I was like relaxed as fast. You got to have relaxed shoulders, relaxed hips. That means you can whip through and you're going to get the bounce back, right? And so if you can get the upper body straight, the legs are going to follow.
Yeah.
But if you go with the legs, they skip, they forget the arms, and they move very mechanically, and they don't figure out.
Robots. I
Yes,
love it. Yeah. No, and I was thinking, so one of the things I work to effectively do is try to get the right foot position with athletes just too, right? It's
yeah,
it's a lot of them will, to your point, overcast or
right,
cast out and try to reach for ground. I love what you said earlier. If you shorten your stride, you essentially can cover more ground,
right.
or even in more efficient way. And guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions for Coach Siemers, please, because I know we're kind of winding down. I want to be respectful of his time. If you have questions, please throw them in the chat. We'll check them and I'll get them over to you. So please, you do. Um, so I do like to kind of wrap things up just a little bit. And trust me, coach, if we need to have round two and a round three and go deeper diving, I'm so willing to do this. You have no idea how much I love distance running, probably because I was so terrible at it. I was horrible. As I see one of my closest friends, one of my best friends is chimed in, and he's a really good distance runner. He's always been a decent distance runner, and he'll tell you just how terrible I was at distance. But
That's hilarious.
I was a sprinter, by the way, but I tried. So what is one of your one or two of your favorite stories? Like what's your favorite memory about distance running or cross country or just an athlete? I mean, you don't have to mention the athlete's name out of
Yeah.
honor and respect. But what's your favorite memory or story that you can recall as a coach?
Oh boy. I've got two, and they're actually the same kid. This kid was phenomenal. So do you want to hear a cross country story or a track story? Same kid. I'll
Totally
let
up
you
to
pick
you.
whichever one. Okay,
Right.
so this one's going to be funny. This is a good one to end with. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I coached this kid. He was a guy, and he had a problem of he was that kid, so gifted, greatest stride I've ever seen. I mean, I would kill for his stride. It's
Mhm.
so efficient and so smooth. Um, but he had a problem with overconfidence, and he would go out really hard in a race and get way in the lead of everybody else, and then the whole pack would just like eat him up. And so we had a year where he went to the state meet, and at the 800-meter mark, he was in first place by a lot, by
Mm.
like 40, 50 meters. And I told him specifically, don't like tuck in. And he ended up getting gobbled up, not long after the 1 mile mark. And I think he ended up finishing like 28th or 29th. And he was someone who should have been a top 10 finisher that
Mm,
year. And so that entire summer, I kept preaching him every day. And I kept telling him, I said, don't take the lead till you know you're going to win. Like, don't be the pacer for everybody else. Like, you sit on someone else. And I would tell him, like, think how unnerving that would be if you're running with somebody and you're on his shoulder and he surges and you surge with him. And he throws everything and you're just hanging out there. I mean, that you're just like messing with his mind. So I said, do not take the lead until you know you're going to win. And I said, you have a fantastic kick. Like, you can go at 800. No one's going to touch you for that last 800. And he did really good. He did a great job. He had a fantastic year. And this was his junior year that this happened. And then we had our regional final for the cross country meet. And
mhm,
where we run, it's a 1 mile loop, and it's a terrible course. I mean, it's literally like when we talk about running in a cow pasture, it's a lot like a cow pasture, but it's got
mm,
gravel roads that we run over, and it's just not it's not like when you think of like running on a golf course. It's the opposite of
mhm,
that. Anyways, this kid, he started off, and somewhere in the first 100 to 150 meters, somebody clipped him on the heel and he lost a spike. And he always ran barefoot. He didn't wear socks.
okay.
And so he had one spike on and was barefoot in the other. And I didn't notice it until he finished, came across at the 1 mile mark, and he was way in the lead. I mean, really super, like 100 meters in the lead. And I'm just yelling. I'm like, "Are we good? Are we good?" And he's like, "Yeah, coach, I'm good. I'm good." Um, he came, and after that, one of my coaching buddies from another school, he was like, "Man, is he okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he said he was." And he was like, "No, he lost his shoe." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" I didn't, I hadn't noticed. And he came around again to start after 2 miles, and he was still had a massive lead. And I noticed, um, he was, barefoot. Anyways, they go back into this part of the. So this is one of those courses where there's this big tree line, and you pretty much have to decide which side of the course you're going to be on,
Mhm.
and you're not going to see the other half. It just isn't possible to. And so he disappeared into the tree line. He's way in the lead. All of a sudden, everybody else comes up, and they go back there, and there's like a time when you think he's going to come out of the woods, and I'm like, oh man, he, the barefoot thing got him because that's where all the gravel is and all that. And they come out, and all of a sudden the pack is there together, and he's like in fifth place. So
Mhm.
that entire lead was gone. And they come up, and then him and another guy, they rally, and it's just like a full sprint to the finish. And he ends up winning the region.
Wow.
Um, and it was like 15:06 that he ran, barefoot. And afterwards, went up to him. I'm like, "Man, are you okay? Like, is your foot okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What happened back there? You had a huge lead, and you obviously had enough left in you because we just saw what you did, in the last like 600 meters or so." And he said, "Oh, after I saw you the second time and I got back there, I remembered what you said. Don't take the lead until you know you're going to win. So I stopped and walked until they caught up to me." And he said, "Yeah." And then when they caught up to me, like, I didn't take the lead. I just settled in with them, and we ran, the rest of it together. And then when we got to that last part, I was like, "Oh, I know I can win now." And that's when I went. And I was like, "Dude, you've given me the best story ever." But that isn't what I meant.
Oh man. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, they ended up, one of the local TV channels did a news story on him. They call it about winning it was focusing on the fact that
Yeah,
he ran 4,800 meters with only one shoe on.
that's insane.
But his rationale that he realized that about 2.25 miles. Oh no, I shouldn't be in the lead right now. I'm gonna wait on
Yeah, you
everybody else.
stop and walk and still run a
Yeah,
15:06,
and still, and
15:07.
he ran that time still. Yeah, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, but he's that kind of athlete.
Yeah,
He's that
that
kind of
sounds
athlete.
amazing. Maybe
Yeah,
yeah, running 15:06 with a flat tire that's ridiculous.
yeah.
That oh man.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's my favorite cross country story. But I don't know if I don't know if I'll ever top that one. That's a pretty good story.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to beat, man. So, yeah, I'd love to meet that kid one day. Maybe we can get him on and you can talk about all his
Oh yeah,
experiences with you.
yeah. He's got a great personality. You'd love talking to him.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, Coach. I appreciate that. That tickled me deep inside. Um,
Yeah,
so, well, y'all, out of respect for time, and I do want to get more into maybe just some further technical aspects of distance running. So maybe we'll do a technical breakdown of distance running and maybe talk about some different training plans. And I know we don't want to get too far into the noise because every athlete, you have to coach what's in front of you, right?
sure.
Um,
Yep,
and so nobody's plan is going to, you can't carbon copy somebody's plan and go, hey, this is going to work for my kid. And I would caution
exactly,
anybody from doing that. You have to coach your kid the way that they need to be coached. And so
exactly.
you can look at things and you can evaluate and you can make assessments and then use wisdom, but it really boils down to your two eyes when it comes to coaching.
Yes.
So, Coach, what I will do is any final words or any send offs or any advice you want to give before we kind of wrap this thing up. And is I've had a time in my life and I've learned a lot from you, Coach. And thank you because you've given me some things to think about myself in the way that I do things. And I'm always looking to grow. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate your wisdom in this. But any final words or any thoughts you'd like to share?
I guess two things. One as a coach is always be working on yourself, on your
Mhm.
skills. Talk to people. Um, don't be one of those coaches who's like, oh, that he's at another school. He's not my friend. I mean, some of my very best friends are people I coach against.
Mhm.
You'll find that in the distance community, we're just ask, and every distance coach I know is going to share whatever they can to help you out. We all know what it's like starting off. And the second thing is, remember your kids are beginners
Mhm.
and they're new at this, and they take all of their cues from you. So you've got to be upbeat in a realistic way. Like I said, like I'm feeding belief and confidence to these kids all the time. Because it's a hard sport
Yeah.
to get into, and you're out there by yourself, and so they need to know that you have their back. And if you have their back, they will give you their very best when you need them to. I think if you do those two things, you're going to be doing most things correctly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Profound advice, y'all, from the sage himself, Coach Siemers, right? Semersology. So
Beamersology, that's hilarious.
I love it. Coach, it has been a 150,000% pleasure to sit with you, to learn from you, to hear your awesome story about your kid with the flat tire, who seems like a
Yeah,
really fun runner. I know he had some wild stories to tell.
yes,
Um, I really can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit with the tribe and share your wisdom with others as well, man. And it's the mark of a great coach that they'll share. And apparently, Siri's talking to me on the side over here, even though I didn't you see, never hear me when I call, but they always she's
right,
always.
right. If you're on the phone, yeah.
But Coach, I just really want to thank you so much. And to everyone out there, guys, if you have questions, Coach is on social media. Coach, what's the best way to get in contact with you if somebody wants to follow up or has
Um,
questions or wants to talk to
Probably the
you?
best way is going to be through X, which is how we met was that way. And my handle is at Siemers, which is SIEMERS underscore XC underscore TF. So just remember, cross country comes before track every year. So at Siemers X underscore XC underscore TF. Just DM me. and I'd be happy to talk with you. Like that's how our relationship started was
Mhm.
through X. And there's some really helpful coaches out there that just are looking to build a strong community. Also, join Track Tribe. I mean, we're swapping stuff. People ask questions out there all the time, so that's another great way.
Absolutely. So you heard it here, folks, guys. Find Coach on Seamer, on Seamers on X. There you go. He owns X now. On X, just use his last name SIEMERS underscore cross country or XC underscore TF for track and field.
TF, yes
There
sir.
you go. And of course, you can find me on all platforms at Track Coach Jones. I'm very easy to find. Or you can join us in the on the school app under the Track Tribe. And again, it's 100% free. We've got a whole resource library out there. We're constantly adding things to help new coaches, veteran coaches, athletes. And of course, you can always just ask a question in the forum and have a conversation. We are getting ready to release some new things like weekly coaches talks. We're working on some other things where coaches will have some tools. So it's just a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm excited about what the second half of this year is going to bring, and I'm doing my best to bring you more and more each week and each month. So, Coach, again, I can't say enough thank yous. I really appreciate you and all the work that you do. Please give your athletes my best regards, and I'm wishing you the best
Absolutely.
season possible. And maybe one day we'll get to a meet one day, and I'll get to see one of your barefoot runners.
Absolutely. I don't hope I don't have any more of those. I hope that's a one-off.
Hilarious. Coach, has been an honor and a pleasure again. And Tribesters, we'll see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit those notifications so that when we put stuff up, you get it notified. And of course, find us in the Track Tribe. We'd be more than happy to have you. With that, I will say adieu. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on X or in the Track Tribe. Until then, guys, it has been a pleasure. And please be safe. And don't forget, don't look down while you're running because then all those bad thoughts will cram
That's
inside of
right.
your head. So, Coach, thank you again. All right, y'all,
Thank
we are
you.
out of here. That's the Track Tribe live for you tonight. And we had an awesome time with Coach Siemers. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time. And I think we'll be talking about throws pretty soon. So be prepared for that.
Awesome.
All right. All right, everyone. And